Hello, and welcome back to the Green Lectionary Podcast, a production of Creation Justice Ministries. Green Lectionary is a conversation on Scripture, looking at it through a Creation Justice lens. My name is Derek Weston, and today we'll be looking at Romans 8 for the 12th Sunday of Ordinary Time. This episode was recorded at Creation Justice Ministries staff retreat at Sister Grove Farm in Alstyne, Texas. Joining me in the conversation is Avery Lamb, CJM's Executive Director, Marissa Salgado, our Church Engagement Manager, and Sarah Macias, our Board President. Before we begin, I'm proud to announce that this year the Green Lectionary will be a part of the God Pods at Theology Beer Camp. I attended this event last year and was a part of some great conversations, got to meet amazing people, all who are thinking about the future of the church and how we become a more inclusive and thoughtful body. This year, the gathering will take place at Pine Ridge Presbyterian Church in Kansas City, Missouri, from October 8th to 10th. You can learn more at theologybeer.camp. Now join us as we look at Romans 8 through the lens of creation justice.
The studio audience.
We're live. Live studio audience. You're recording?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right. Welcome to the Green Lectionary. And I am here today with Sarah Macias, who is the president of the board of Creation Justice Ministries, and Avery Lamb, who's the executive director of Creation Justice Ministries, and Marissa Salgado, who is the church engagement manager of Creation Justice Ministries. And we're going to look at a text that we reference quite a bit at Creation Justice Ministries, but have never done a podcast on.
Well, and Derek, where are we joining from?
Oh, we are at Sister Grove Farm in Alstyne, Texas, which is Sarah's place. She's been hosting the staff for our staff retreat, and she and Rodney, her husband, have been gracious to us. We have been welcomed with very warm hospitality. It has been lovely to be here. This is one of my favorite places on earth.
It's been wonderful to have you here.
All right. And with that, we're going to talk about Romans 8. Romans 8, chapter verses 12 to 25. So I'm going to read. So then, brothers and sisters, we are debtors not to the flesh to live according to the flesh. For if you live according to the flesh, you will die. But if by the Spirit you put to death the deeds of the body, you will live. For all who are led by the Spirit of God are children of God. For you did not receive the spirit of slavery to fall back into fear, but you received the spirit of adoption when we cry, Abba, Father. It is that very Spirit bearing witness with our spirit that we are children of God. If children, then heirs, heirs of God and joint heirs with Christ, if we in fact suffer with him, so that we may also be glorified with him. I consider that the sufferings of this present time are not worth comparing with the glory about to be revealed to us. For the creation waits with eager longing for the revealing of the children of God. For the creation was subjected to futility, not of its own will, but by the will of the one who subjected it in hope that the creation itself will be set free from its enslavement to decay and will obtain the freedom of the glory of the children of God. We know that the whole creation has been groaning together as it suffers together the pains of labor. Not only the creation, but we ourselves, who have the first fruits of the Spirit, groan inwardly while we wait for adoption, the redemption of our bodies. For in hope we were saved. Now hope that is seen is not hope, for who hopes for what one already sees? But if we hope for what we do not see, we wait for it with patience. So normally, I ask the question, where is creation in this passage? I think I'm actually going to skip that question, maybe ask it a little different way. What is creation, which is pretty much, featured in this passage? What is creation doing here?
Sitting on the edge of her seat. Waiting. Imagining sitting on the edge of your seat, waiting for the curtain to rise on the stage. You're eager. You don't know what's ahead, but you just can't wait for this play. And you think you know what's going to happen, but you're not sure. You haven't seen it yet, And so the creation waits with eager longing, not knowing yet how it's going to turn out. I could say more, but I'll leave it at that for now.
What's that? You want to jump in?
Well, and the waiting is also waiting in labor, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which I have not given birth to a child. Shocking. I know that's shocking to everyone here.
Breaking news.
But when I was born, I mean, it was a very long process, right? And it was, I mean, perhaps I can only imagine that in pregnancy, there are feelings of futility and in labor itself, there is a lot of pain, but there's also a lot of waiting, right? Waiting for what is yet to be revealed. And there's something about the hope here that is in the midst of these labor pangs, right? There is something that is yet to come. There is something that is yet to be revealed that is being birthed here. And so creation is waiting. Creation is also being birthed through the pains that it's experiencing.
I also wonder, there's something in the eager waiting and the groaning, maybe to keep going on this conversation of birthing something, even though there's something that's yet to be revealed, there's an anticipation, there's an imagining of what is possible, there's an imagining of what can come. And so I think maybe a question I have here is does creation have an awareness of something that it knows is coming, that it can sense, that keeps it in the groaning that maybe I don't have an awareness of, or we don't have an awareness of? What does it testify to in its waiting that we need to pay attention to?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to go back to the theater. I don't reference Calvin often, but Calvin
I'm on the
said,
edge of my seat.
here we go. Here we go.
Well, eagerness.
As I recall, Calvin said that creation is the theater of God's glory. So if you read here in this text that creation is eagerly, again, sitting on the edge of her seat, waiting for the curtain to rise on the theater of God's glory, they know the potentiality. They recognize that, they feel it. We'll see how the play unfolds, but they just can't wait.
Well,
But they are waiting.
Yeah.
And waiting. And it's a long gestation period.
I mean, that's really good. And I mean, I think also when either that Calvin quote is read, or when we imagine the theater of God's glory, there's often imagination of the humans are the actors and creation is the setting. Right? That creation is not actually an active participant, an alive participant in the play that is unfolding. But actually this passage totally subverts that experience. And it's like the subject in this passage is creation, right? It is not, it's not humanity, even though humanity is waiting to be revealed. It's from the perspective, right? If this were a theater, if this were a movie, it would be shot from the perspective of creation, right? Creation is a subject in the play that is the theater of God's glory, even as creation is waiting for humanity, for us to be revealed.
Well, it's interesting you said the creation was subject.
Yeah.
Because it says
Subjected.
creation was subjected.
Yeah. Right.
To futility.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the other piece here then is that not only is creation waiting, it's waiting because of this circumstance that it's in. The circumstance of being enslaved in what feels like the futility of the time, the futility of the decay that is coming along with, remember that Paul is writing to the Romans, so like the decay of Rome and the Roman Empire, like very much like that Rome subjected everything that it touched, and creation is part of that. Also, just kind of like fun trivia piece here, that the Greek word that's used for creation here is a feminine noun, so we can call creation a her.
Okay.
Yeah. That's the grammar of animacy.
Yeah.
That Robin Walkenberg talks about. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting too, like Paul is writing to an audience who, if they didn't have the experience of enslavement, understand enslavement. Yeah. Right? Like they're proximate to enslavement. And so just the language in here of futility and pains and groaning, right? That is language of enslavement, but it is creation, right? And so there's a sort of anthropomorphizing of creation that's happening here, that's helping us in our our ability to relate to creation as one who's subject to pains, right? Because yes, I have seen my neighbor be enslaved, and also here's creation who's also being enslaved.
Yeah.
Makes me wonder if it says, and by him we cry, Abba, Father. What does creation crying out, Abba, Father sound like? And how do we pay attention for that? And how do we learn how to better cry out, Abba, Father, because of the ways we tune into the groanings of creation that I think echo and are our own longings that we join with when we pay attention to them.
There's another more problematic understanding of creation that exists in the first couple verses of this text. And it's Paul living very much into Greek dualism. That like flesh is bad, spirit is good, soul is good, but flesh, like the flesh of humanity is bad. And like I find that highly problematic, especially when Paul then goes and is speaking for what we kind of assume is the non-human creation, and then kind of underselling the value of the bodies of the human creation. So I find that juxtaposition challenging. This like Paul is so entrenched in the Greek dualist thinking, where he's able to see the value of the non-human creation and not see the value of the flesh of the human creation. I don't know what to do with that. I just kind of like, that's just a observation. Because I feel like a lot of, and we're going to get to the second question, but I feel like a lot of where we have our undervaluing of creation comes from this dualist thinking of like living by the spirit is what's valuable, the flesh, and therefore all sorts of flesh is undervalued.
Yeah.
All of the manifestations of creation are undervalued.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question, Derek?
Yeah.
So then with that feeling, this dualism, in verse 23, there is a redemption of our bodies. And I don't know, I guess how do you interact with that section of that then, that there is still something that isn't being cast out, isn't being thrown away. It is the physical material of our bodies that are being redeemed and adopted into sonship.
Yeah. I mean, for me, that feels like Paul being inconsistent. But that feels like, exactly. With one hand, he's saying that the flesh will die, and he's kind of like equating the flesh with sinfulness and sinful desires and all those sorts of things. And then he's kind of on the other hand saying we'll have the redemption of our bodies. So it's a little bit, it feels a little bit contradictory to me.
It is. I mean, it's interesting to me the transition from the language of flesh to the language of bodies. Like to me, bodies is a much more holistic term, right? Like flesh in itself is pretty reductive.
Yeah.
I think in the same way that when we are living according to our passions and following our passions and reducing ourselves based on the loves and desires that we have that are not directed toward God, right? That is reductive and it's not good. You know, like I wonder if there's something to the reduction of living according to the flesh as living sort of single-mindedly, living for oneself, versus the redemption of bodies, which, you know, all throughout the gospel and the New Testament, the body is both individual body, but also the corporate body, right? The temple, your body is a temple, right? That could be read either as an individual body or the corporate body, right? So getting out of the flesh as just being our individual flesh, but actually we are not just ever individual flesh, right? Our bodies are intimately related to each other and related to the body of the world.
Yeah.
And am I right? I mean, he doesn't use the word bodies until verse 23.
Yeah.
Until the redemption.
Which is the redemption of bodies.
Yeah.
So the beginning of this passage begins with the word flesh, which, you know, incarnationally many of us here sitting here resonate with, but it's problematic if spirit is more than flesh,
Right.
but as the narrative shifts with verse 23, we wait for adoption, for adoption, which we may want to think about the redemption of our bodies.
Yeah.
Bodies.
So what is the relationship here to humans and the non-human, the more than human creation that Paul is exploring in this text?
The relationship between humans and the non-human or more than human? Well, I see it in verse 20. As far as creation was subjected to futility, not of its own will, but by the will of the one, by the will of Adam, is what it seems to be that the book of Romans is referring to as humanity.
Mm-hmm.
So creation was subjected to futility, not of its own will, but by the will of humanity who subjected it. So, I see that in as far as the relationship between the human and more than human here in this text. And is there something else I'm missing?
Yeah. Well, and I mean, just right before that too, just to build off that again, creation waits with eager longing for the revealing of the children of God, for the unveiling of who we were made to be. For us to finally enter into what it means to be the Imago Dei, to live in the fullness of our humanity, to be, as our Orthodox friends would say, the priests of creation, right? To walk alongside creation. Not only are we becoming who we are meant to be, but also accompanying creation and becoming who it is meant to be. We're at Sarah's farm, at Sister Grove Farm, and I feel like so much of what I've learned from you this week, Sarah, is the role of the human in this landscape, right? That the absentee landlords who were here before you were here, yes, the land lay fallow, but that wasn't necessarily good for the land. Right? The land wants a kind of partnership. Right? The land wants you to be the best farmer who you can be. And to be the best farmer who you can be is to be the best Christian that you can be, right? It's to live in the values of reciprocity and love and tenderness and gratitude to the land, and then to act in generosity to the land. And so in response, you are being revealed as Farmer Sarah, as the best Farmer Sarah who you can be, but also the cows and the sheep and the milkweed and the big blue stem is also waiting in eager longing. And finally, that seed bed that is there just beneath the surface is able to express itself because you have been revealed as who you are meant to be.
Well, when you say when the text says in 21 that the creation itself will be set free, that includes humanity. That includes the farmer. So that includes all of us as a part of creation when we are fully becoming into who we are being created, not have been created, but are being. The creating, the becoming is happening even now. So we're becoming a better farm. The farm is helping us become a better farmer. The farmer is helping the farm become. It's just this. It can't be detached from each other.
Yeah,
it cannot.
Yeah, this beautiful mutuality here.
Yeah,
of creation being liberated.
Yeah,
by humanity, and humanity experiencing that liberation in relationship to creation.
Right.
That's pretty amazing. I mean, I was, for today we had Eco Preacher, and to end our time together, I played one of the songs that was written here at Sister Grove Farm. And the song says, "We are the problem and the solution."
Right.
And like, that's what this text kind of screams really loud, is like, on one hand, we are the ones subjugating creation, but also if we do what we need to do in our spirits with God, with each other, we're also the liberators of creation.
Right. It's that agency.
We're part of creation's liberation,
Yeah.
which has been also part of our liberation.
Yeah.
Which is like, we have such capacity as humanity to do immense amounts of harm.
Uh-huh.
But yet we also, and again, I feel like I experience it every time I'm in this space. We have capacity as humanity to do immense amounts of good when we are living in right relationship with creation. Which I find really fun and hopeful. I find that incredible.
Yeah.
I find it incredibly hopeful.
Yeah, I mean, that word liberated, there's something about that feels like this explosion outward. When something has been kept in bondage, I feel like when I hear bondage, I hear tension, I hear enclosed, I hear inability to move, I hear stuck. And when I hear liberation, I see this bursting forth almost in a beautifully uncontrollable and not needing to be controlled way that life springs up. It makes me think of that. I was so struck by the tree that we got to see on your property, Sarah. And as I was talking to friends about it, I just kept saying, it just explodes outward from its trunk in just this expansive way. And to see that all of creation itself is freed from bondage in a way that is liberating, that is explosive, that is expansive, feels like it opens up. I feel like those trees' limbs stretch in infinite directions. And I love the way that there's an opportunity here in this liberation, for creation in all that means, to explode outward into infinite directions for the manifestation of what it means to see who God is on this side of eternity.
And there's something about that tree that whoever's listening to this podcast, they're kind of going, what tree are you talking about? Anyway, but you see the tree from a distance and it's like, oh, that's a beautiful tree. And you get closer to it, it's like, oh, and then there's something about when you're with it, in relationship with it, in a more intimate, you're not looking at it as an object, but you come in its presence. And it's not just this, but there are other manifestations in creation where that encounter can happen. And when you enter into that relationship in that way, it's like it catches your breath. I mean, that's my experience with that particular tree and other opportunities like that in creation, as members of creation with her. And it makes you feel more whatever God is creating you to be, more human, more Sarah, more Marissa, more Avery, more Derek, and as I'm more with this tree in this space in that moment. So I don't know, there's something about that closeness when that is humbling and life-giving.
There's another phrase in this text that's jumping out to me in a way that feels relevant to this conversation, that comes out in verse 17. Well, it starts verse 16. It is that very Spirit bearing witness with our spirit that we are children of God, and if children, then heirs of God and joint heirs with Christ. And I'm kind of thinking about this conversation that we're having, and it's like, if we are heirs, then this reciprocal, loving relationship with creation feels like an inheritance.
Yeah.
Feels like a birthright that like we kind of have cheated ourselves out of.
Did we what?
Cheated ourselves out of. And that empire has cheated us out of. That like the experience of empire making creation enslaved, in futility, has robbed us of the birthright of the beautiful reciprocal relationships that we could have with creation.
That makes me go back to some of the flesh conversation we were having at the beginning of, well, there's that inheritance that we continue to opt into, that fleshly inheritance that we could keep dissecting what all that means. But there feels like in that phrasing of things, there's a kind of inheritance in there that is not one that's life-giving. It's one that keeps us in bondage. It's one that has been passed down from Adam to all of us sitting here, that is not our birthright, that doesn't actually fit us in the way that we have been designed to be. And this inheritance, this heirs of God and this co-heirs with Christ, us in creation were made to fit into that inheritance. That inheritance was made to fit into us. And that's a beautiful inheritance that continues on to say, indeed, if we share in his sufferings, we share in his sufferings in order that we may also share in his glory. Part of that inheritance right now is to groan with creation, is to enter into the suffering, because that has become the way by which we enter into the liberation of new life.
Yeah.
There's so much in here about parentage and the parental relationship, right? There's the heir passage here, and then the pains of labor that we just briefly touched on earlier, that the whole creation is waiting for, and then the adoption.
Bingo.
Right?
I was waiting for you to go there.
3 different pieces of what it means to be parented.
Chosen.
To be children.
Adoption. Chosen. There's no indication that anyone is not chosen.
Yeah.
And I think that's an important detail. But chosen, to be heirs. And there's a responsibility with being heirs, leaving this place better than we received it. And you're chosen. You are special. You are a child of God. And again, there's no indication that anyone is not.
Right.
I just want to be clear.
Right.
Okay. You are adopted. I choose you to be an heir, to inherit this. I will this over. I'm entrusting you. That's what you do with a will. I'm entrusting you to care for something I cherish. Honor me. Honor your father and mother. And keep on keeping it on.
Yeah. There's something, what is at stake here in this text is that we're actually in some ways working out our purpose and our identity through the liberation of creation. Our identity as children of God is best revealed. And in some ways, a reading of this text is that our identity as children of God is best revealed by how we interact with creation, which is a huge, responsibility. It's a huge thing that feels like we're just not talking about enough. That's again, kind of talking about going back to the stage metaphor, the stage in which is one in which we are performing a scene with creation.
We are actively performing right now.
Performing the scene with creation.
Well, and it's a very humbling place to be, because so often we can feel like we are the parents in the relationship with creation, right? So in this priesthood that we live in, that it's a father and mother-child relationship, but that's not at all what's being right. We are being born alongside creation, right? We're siblings to creation, and our parent is God, right? And it is through God and through our reconciliation with creation that we become who we ought to be as co-siblings with the rest of creation.
Yeah.
And again, in that listening, I just wonder if there are ways that creation knows us, human side of creation, better than we know ourselves. That in listening to it, in humbling ourselves and learning from it, in not keeping it in bondage, but of saying, my liberation is tied up with yours. Our destinies are inextricably linked to one another. Therefore, I don't tend to or care for you because it is how I show that I am a good person or a good Christian. It is because my very humanity is tied up in your well-being, and your well-being is tied to my humanity. And so when we can have that reciprocal sibling relationship, I mean, how many of us, our siblings, know things about us that, man, we hate to be called out. And yet, though, there are the hard things they call out about us, but then there are the ways that they see us.
Yes.
That make me pause and say, wow, I feel very loved in this moment. And yes, there are ways that I think we are called in this passage to lay down our brokenness and pick up what is our true inheritance and name that for creation. But I also see such a beautiful invitation to allow creation to look us in the face and say, hey, can I name this thing about you that I see is really beautiful that will make me say, dang, I feel really seen.
Yeah.
And I want to continue doing that for one another as an expression of love, as an expression of intimacy, as an expression of relationship.
I love that. I love that. Okay, so we have this is a text that we reference a lot in our work and in our ecosystem of folks who are in the church who care about creation. And the lectionary has given us the gift this summer that this text will come up. What is the call to action for the church with this text? People are going to see this in the lectionary. They're going to see this text as one of the lectionary texts. They have no excuse to not preach on this text. What do you feel like people need to be saying to their churches in response to this text?
The term the Anthropocene has been used to name this era that we're in, as far as the potentiality for good or ill, based on the assumption that there has never been a time in the era of creation, the world, that one species, Homo sapiens in our case, is able to makes an influence more than any other. Anyway, so if creation is kind of going, if the rest of, again, not as if we're not a part of creation, but if the other members of creation with which we are in relationship with, the rocks and the trees and the cows and the milkweed and the chickens and all the rest of creation is going, you can do it. You can do it.
Yeah.
There's we're cheering you on. But based on the assumption of the Anthropocene, there's no species right now that has more influence than you. We are a species, and you're a species, and you're a species, and you, Homo sapiens, are a species. We're eagerly waiting. We can't wait because when you help, we're going to help you. You're not going to do it alone. It's going to be amazing. But you play a role.
Yeah. You got to show up.
You have inherited something.
Yeah.
You have been entrusted with something that the Creator cherishes. Come on.
Yeah.
Now's the time.
I'll preach.
I think with that, Sarah, that call to action, that invitation can feel there's so much groaning happening in the world right now. And
Absolutely.
I think from a human sense, there's this aversion, in my very human sense, this aversion to entering into suffering, even when it is suffering for the glory that brings about new life. And I think as creation is cheering us on, there's and is just beckoning us to take up the work and to do it with it. I also just love the fact that I think as we take up this work in this day and age that we're living in, taking up the work means being willing to groan and being willing to groan daily. And the fact that creation doesn't just cheer us on, but says we are going to groan with you. And we've maybe even been groaning longer than you have. And so we're going to teach you how to groan with hope. We're going to teach you how to groan with an eager longing. We're going to teach you how to groan in a way that does not lead to despair, but
Yeah.
that actually leads you to your creator.
Yeah.
That I want to learn how to groan like that.
Yeah. And as the only one of the four of us who have had a child,
That's why I just set the body down.
you get to a point
Mm.
where you just got to keep pushing. and you hold hands
Mm-hmm.
with the one that you love,
Mm.
and you do not know
Mm.
how it's going to turn out.
Mm-hmm.
You do not know.
Mm.
And there's no going back.
Yeah.
And there's no, well, I'm going to take a break. No, that's not an option
Mm-hmm.
because the contractions keep coming.
Mm-hmm.
They just keep coming.
Mm-hmm.
And you keep pushing and pushing. And after a while, you hear a little cry
Mm.
and something's born, but you're in it together,
Yeah.
going into a whole new world
Mm-hmm.
of uncertainty. You're a parent.
Mm-hmm.
And the groaning and pushing, and Earth is doing it all the time.
Mm. And what beauty, Avery, I feel like you've been talking a lot about as we've been as a team together talking about what do we value, what do we long to see in the world? Such unknown and such beauty.
Mm.
And I desperately long for the intricately mysterious, beautiful things that I have yet to see possible.
Mm-hmm.
But because of an ever creating God,
Mm-hmm.
are absolutely possible.
Right.
I think there's a couple of things. One, I think this text ends with hope,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
right? But like this is a text that ends with, and I think another part of our Eco Preacher, which by the way, by the time this comes out, we'll be accepting applications for the next cohort of Eco Preachers. But we've been talking a lot about our emotions around the climate crisis.
Yeah.
And it's really easy to despair.
Mm.
But a big piece of this is hope.
Yeah.
A big piece of this is like all of this kind of culminates. All of this talk about us as the children of God, this futility that nature's been subjected to, the waiting and groaning, it ends with hope.
Mm-hmm.
It ends with us being able to imagine
Mm-hmm.
a hopeful future in which creation is living in its fullness that God created for it. And we're living in the fullness of what God created for us. And like, that's the thing that keeps us pushing,
Yeah.
that keeps us laboring, that keeps us in the midst of this.
Yeah.
But I balance that with like the thing that I often say about this passage and the thing that like I just keep coming back to is like, what did Paul see in his time that made him say that creation was groaning?
Yeah.
He saw creation. He saw an empire
Mm-hmm.
that deforested
Right.
to have lumber and resources for its war machine,
Right.
that mined to have resources for its war machine,
Mm-hmm.
that enslaved people
Mm-hmm.
to have work for its, to feed its war machine. You probably saw pollution
Mm-hmm.
from the naval force of the empire, that like Paul was saying that creation was groaning 2,000 years ago
Yeah.
under the boot of the Roman Empire.
Mm-hmm.
What would Paul say about creation now?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think one of the hope piece stays there, right? But we have to realize that groan,
Mm-hmm.
the amplification of that groan
Mm.
that has happened because of the Anthropocene,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
also means that hope has to happen with some urgency.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder if you would write it a little bit differently now. I mean, if this is the living word of God, that last line, we wait for it with patience.
Yeah.
And then, you kind of got to go, you kind of got to, there's this groaning and urgency and subjection and, oppression. Well, we wait for it with patience. And it's like, but do we? I mean, how is that? How does that? I mean, there's the dichotomy of waiting with patience and waiting with eager longing.
Yeah.
Creation is waiting with eager longing. And we're waiting with patience?
That feels
I don't know.
That doesn't feel fair.
Creation is, I think if creation was waiting with eager longing when Paul wrote this.
Yeah.
How?
It's been waiting for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then the last, we wait with patience. I don't know.
Marissa had I think yesterday we were talking about urgency and I don't know if you put it this way exactly, but there can be a holy urgency, but there's a difference between urgency and hurriedness.
I think some of what we were talking about earlier too, just hurriedness and industrialization. We want things quickly. We want things
instant satisfaction.
Instantly.
Right. Which is what he's getting at here with hope, right?
Yeah. But I hear your tension, Sarah, and I think there's something. What does it mean for us to wait actively?
We're still
and urgently?
Hope requires action.
There's the urgency of now.
Yes.
Yeah.
But there's also the reality that it's not an instant fix.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, which you learn on the farm, don't you, Sarah?
You do. You're reminded, but and we're reminded in this text. We're talking about the long game, and we're talking about inching, staying, not passively, but agency. I mean, as chosen, as adopted children, being entrusted with the inheritance of what God cherishes. There's agency that is expected, and we're not fully human without that agency. That's I don't know where that takes me. But
Well, I think the one thing that I might offer preachers in this is, hope is mentioned 5 times, 6 times.
in the last,
Creation is mentioned at least 4 times. I don't think there's anywhere else in the entire canon where hope and creation are so intertwined, right? And so what a place to talk about what it means to see the world as creation, which is that humans are intimately and intricately a part of creation, right? Which we so often forget. And we get in this paradigm of thinking the humans are separate from creation. But it's so clear in this that those who are being freed from enslavement into redemption is all of creation. And it is through the non-human creation that humans are freed from decay. And it is through humans that the non-human creation is freed from decay. And to share that from the pulpit, to dispossess us of this other piece of dualism, right? Not just the flesh spirit dualism, but the human non-human dualism,
right?
And no, we're all in this together,
Right.
We're all in this together.
And the amount of times that hope and creation are mentioned in this text, and so many times, hope is 4 times in the last 2 verses, which I can't help but be reminded of David Orr's statement of hope is an imperative with her sleeves rolled up. In other words, hope, verb, exclamation mark. Hope is an action. And there's groaning in that, and there's agency in that, and we're entrusted to be doing that. And hoping is an action that is, and the creation is, and the rest of creation is, come on. You can do it. We're doing it with you. Hope.
It's a good place to end. Sarah, Avery, Marissa, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jared.
Great.
And cut. Thank you for joining us for the Green Lectionary Podcast. This episode was produced by Sprocket Wagner, and
The song within these pages was written and produced by Christian McIver. You can learn more about this and other programs of Creation Justice Ministries at creationjustice.org.
Our story comes alive within these pages, for every time and place throughout the ages. God speaks and is heard, and the enduring word calls us to care for our world as we share the love that can set creation free. Restoring the earth to wholeness, peace, and harmony. Let the songs of the water, land, and sky resound, 'cause together we're all bound. Within these pages, there's always new life to be found.